So I'm Lindsay, and I have vestibular neuritis, and I've had it for 4.5 months now. And I'm making this video because I wanted to be one of those people that contributes to the positive recovery stories out there on the internet, because the internet is full of a lot of really, really scary stories. Where you're hearing a lot about the chronic sufferers and people who are still struggling. And those stories outnumber the good ones. And I really think that's because the people who recover are out busy recovering and kind of out enjoying life. And maybe they didn't struggle for as long, and they got better pretty quickly. And you just, when you're better, you're not really thinking about posting. For me, I am almost better. I'm nearly there. I feel very, very close to the finish line. But the first few months were hell. They were awful. They felt really, really scary. And I just wished that I could have found more positive recovery stories that were less than a year's time. Like, I just really thought, oh man, I probably will get better, but it's going to take like a year, maybe 2 years. Or maybe I'm always going to have to deal with this and just learn to deal, and that's what getting better is going to be, is just learning to deal. So I'm making this to let those of you out there suffering or struggling or just really in the throes of it know that yes, people do get better, because I am getting better. And I definitely have vestibular neuritis. I've had extensive testing done to confirm it, and it has been confirmed. I have 49% loss of function in my right vestibular system, so it's a significant amount of function lost, and I know that through the caloric test done at a really a trusted clinic, and I've seen a few specialists, and it has been confirmed that is indeed what I have, and I am getting better. 4.5 months into the process, I am running, I'm biking, I'm hiking, I'm doing regular things again with minimal symptoms, nothing super, super intense, and my recovery time from my symptoms is pretty rapid. So if that's enough information or encouragement for you, feel free to stop this video now. You're like, great, heard it. There's another person who's getting better, has gotten better. Awesome, take that, run with it. Believe that your brain is powerful and is working really hard to compensate for the loss that you maybe have, and go on and get well. But for those of you who need more information or want more details, or just really like to hear kind of like the whole story, feel free to listen or watch further. Because I'll tell you a little bit more details from here on out about what this kind of whole thing has looked like for me. So a little background, I'm 35 and I'm pretty healthy and very active. Before the vestibular neuritis happened, I was traveling for the winter and was on a hike in Australia when my symptoms started in full force. Lucky for me, when I was halfway into this hike, I didn't have insane vertigo. I just had this sensation that I might pass out, and the earth was coming up at me, and I just, was really unsteady and felt really off the rest of the day and moving really slowly. I mean, I had to finish my hike. I was in the backcountry. And then from then on out, it started to feel like each day, whenever I would start moving around, the earth felt spongy and my legs felt weird, and I felt like I was swaying, and I would kind of bump into things and just felt really unsteady and uncomfortable, and like falling forward and sitting still even at the dinner table would feel like I was not in the chair properly, and I would be looking at people's faces and noticing that I was always holding my head, always had my hand on my chin or my hand here, because it felt like my head was like weird on my neck, and nothing felt normal or balanced. Ella, come here. Come here. My doggy. So yeah, like things just were feeling unsteady, and it took me a process of 5 weeks to figure out what was going on because I was overseas. I went to the emergency room. They ruled out any like acute or really scary things, sent me on my way. Still didn't know what it was. And after that, for me, on top of feelings of like imbalance, headaches, sluggishness, like confusion, kind of, dizzy feelings, always really weird in grocery stores, just all of these kind of strange things. I was doing my regular life initially the first couple of weeks, but everything I did felt wrong. Then anxiety kicked in, for sure, like a week into the process. Without having my diagnosis at that time, that made things really confusing because on top of all of the imbalance, dizziness, things like that, I then was shaking. I felt overcaffeinated all day long. My blood pressure was spiked. I had chest tightness, palpitations. I had really bad headaches. I had muscle twitches and muscle spasms all the time in all different parts of my body. My eye would twitch, my arms would twitch, my just muscles I didn't even know I had would be twitching. Just constant neck pain and panic attacks. So just random feelings of terror where I'd just be terrified. And I think it was just, all of these feelings of imbalance, things being wrong in the body were then triggering my central nervous system. So trying to figure out what was wrong was really confusing because I had so many symptoms and I was afraid I had MS and all of these other things. After the MRI, after all of this blood work, extensive testing, checking for so many different things, 5 weeks into the process, finally found out from an ENT that it was suspected that I had vestibular neuritis. I started physical therapy 6 weeks into the process. Still had anxiety symptoms going at the time, and the physical therapy then started to actually make me feel worse. My physical therapist kept saying, you might get worse before you get better, because leading all up to that, the first week I was doing normal things, then I kind of just slowed up and was like afraid to move. Every time I'd move my head around, I'd start to feel dizzy. So I was holding very still. I was walking very slowly. I was relaxing a lot, kind of doing all these things. So I was very still for about 6 weeks. And then was like, okay, great, I'm supposed to be active now. So then I started walking more and like going to the gym and doing all this stuff to try and get better. And in that process of doing that, I started to feel dizzy or off balance or woozy and nauseous and just triggered almost all day, which then spiked the anxiety even more. So for me, my next route or plan, I started to see a therapist and a psychiatrist and thought that the best thing to do would be to get on an SSRI. In my past, I've struggled with depression and anxiety as well. I've never been used medication for it. I usually have pretty good coping strategies, but with having this inner ear disorder on top of it, I just felt like I couldn't reel in the anxiety because it was too blurry. I couldn't tell what was anxiety and what was vestibular, so I needed something else to help me through the process. So getting on an SSRI for me was something that greatly helped me improve because it calmed down the physical symptoms of my anxiety. My blood pressure went down, I stopped shaking, I stopped having panic attacks about 2 weeks into being on, 2 or 3 weeks being on the medication that I was on, and then started seeing significant progress with my physical therapy and just being continually active with the vestibular neuritis. So the first 3 months for me were really difficult, struggling a lot, lots of physical symptoms. On top of the feelings of imbalance, loud noises were really hard for me, bright lights were really frustrating, my vision felt like unsteady and a bit blurred, and just all around full body fatigue and headaches on a daily basis. So now I'm at 4.5 months. I very rarely am having headaches. My energy level is exactly where it should be. Occasionally need a little nap here and there. If I do feel triggered, like a little bit dizzy, my dizziness now just feels like a slight wooziness and like a body motion continuation. Like let's say I go do a quick motion, I might feel like I'm still in that movement even when I've stopped moving, but then it settles very quickly. I'm running, I'm biking, I'm hiking, I'm driving on the freeway again, which I had stopped doing, and the biggest symptoms I get are just a sense of kind of nausea and wooziness that is stabilizing. So I'm still in physical therapy. I'm still working on things. I'm still working on stabilizing my vision so that it doesn't feel blurred, like looking at signs like off in the distance. And I'm still working on balance things so that my body understands where it is in relationship to gravity. Like, when I'm walking, I feel pretty good walking, but if, I look to the right, my body's still going to kind of pull a little bit. Look to the left when I'm walking, I'm going to pull. So I'm working on staying completely centered and in my balance and things like that. So I'll try to post more videos as the process goes, just so that you can continue to see, like, people actually get better, they stay better, and they, are able to go back to their regular lives. It's definitely one of the hardest things I've ever been through. I was lucky to have the support of friends and family because I wasn't able to work initially. And now I'm getting ready to go back to work, and I work in the active travel industry, which I'll be doing hiking and biking, and feeling pretty ready for it. Even though I'll probably feel a little nauseous here and there, I feel like I'm emotionally at the point where it's like, okay, I can deal with this. I'm seeing progress. I'm getting better. It's safe for me to do these things. I'm not falling over. I just feel a little queasy. And I have strategies and steps and techniques and things to do to help my brain relearn that it doesn't have to listen to those dizzy signals anymore. So you can get better. It is possible. Keep looking for the support you need. Find people who know what vestibular neuritis is and talk with them about it. For me, having a VNG testing done and the caloric testing was really good because that gave me solid numbers on what I was dealing with and made me fully believe that I had what I had. Talking to a therapist has helped me a lot. For me, medication for the anxiety and depression has been helping a lot. And yeah, it is possible to get better, and I am getting better. I've gone from feeling 50% of normal on a daily basis, feeling so fatigued and tired and crying and awful and just not good, to now where I feel pretty much like myself. And just have, these lingering annoying symptoms, like my neck hurts, and my neck has been bothering me through this whole process, but it's getting better. Everything is on the up. And it didn't take a year. It took me 3 solid months, and then after 3 months, significant improvement on a weekly basis. So it's possible. People do get better. Probably don't hear about it as much because the people who get better in under 6 months aren't really on the internet because they're out living life. I'm sure of it. So yeah, good luck to you. I'll try to post some updates with like progress and like maybe a more definitive like list of what symptoms I had or things that maybe would help you along. But yeah, it's a hard thing to deal with, and really glad to be on the other side because it is an amazing feeling. And that 3 months felt really, really long, but looking back now, it's just a short amount of time in the grand scheme of things. And knowing that there is light at the end of the tunnel, I'm sure, is a helpful thing. There was one video out there that I would watch on repeat where she got better, and that one helped me a lot. So I'm hoping that this will get added to that and help you along your journey. Thanks.